Hey everyone, this is Robert, and thank you for tuning in to the podcast. And I appreciate everybody for, doing well and staying healthy and doing everything here and there. I know that we're like a few months into 2023, which is crazy because I feel like it just started. But today we are just gonna kick back, relax, and just chill and talk with somebody who you may recognize. I mean, I know you see, this dude sitting here. We have somebody who's been in the business for a while. They've done acting, they've done video games. You know them as Silver the Hedgehog from, Sonic 06 and other video games that he's recorded. So I have Mr. Pete Capella sitting to my left. Yeah. Thank
On
you
my
for
screen, I'm
joining
right
me.
below you. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow. But yeah, thank you for joining me on this lovely Wednesday afternoon. How are you doing, my good sir?
Doing great, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing fine, fine. But yeah, we're just in the midst of getting ready for a couple of events that are going to be happening fairly soonish. So we'll probably get more into it in a little bit. If you can tell from the posters behind me if it's a good indicator. But yeah, so let's highlight your career though for today. Um, yeah,
Sure.
so I guess the first question that I have for you is what are you currently doing today and how has 2023 been for you so far? And yeah, what projects are you doing at the moment that you can
Well,
disclose right now?
sure. Yeah. Well, 2023 is a weird one because the writers are on strike right now. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So I do mostly film and TV, and a lot of voiceover work as well. So we're kind of on pause right now. The voiceover work will continue as long as those scripts were already written, and or if they are written because a lot of the commercial stuff is advertising agencies writing them. Otherwise, there are a couple auditions that come down the pipeline that it's something that's already been written for TV or film, but mostly we're on pause right now.
Yeah. Because I know with the strike going on, it's kind of been it's a tumultuous time to say the least, and it's just, um with a lot of it's just a really yeah, it's a pretty dicey situation, so I'm not going to go too much into it, but let's
Sure.
just
Yeah.
pray and hope that it works out for the better. Like, it leaves a positive impact for actors, writers, and people working in showbiz in the future.
Absolutely. It's a really weird thing, man. I'm sure you have seen it out there, but there are some people
Yeah.
that have already used, some sort of digital version of my voice in their animations, and so it's a scary, scary time when it comes to that stuff.
Oh, yeah. All that AI stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 and that's a big part of the strike. So
Yeah. But regardless, though, we're going to talk about, just how you got started, and pretty much your various, the projects that you've worked on, just to mainly highlight yourself, because you've really done a lot of, shows and so many different projects that I absolutely love. So I guess my actual first question to you is, I'm not gonna ask like the generic, oh, how did you get started into showbiz? I'm not gonna do that that simple generic one. Instead, what I am gonna start off with is, so when you were a kid, like you had all these like different um career there's so many different avenues that you could go into, like, hey, I want to be this, or like I want to be X, Y, or Z. Like, was acting always something that kind of came to your mind when you were a child, or did you have like other, like, I guess, you know dreams or
yeah, yeah,
anything
yeah.
that you were
That's actually a really great question. It was kind of two-sided. So one big part of me always wanted to act. I did the school plays when I was younger. I was it was the Wonder Years, the original version of the Wonder Years that really like made me want to be an actor. I saw that show and I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do. Um, So, that was always in the back of my head. But then the other side of me, like as a kid, like I wanted to be a marine biologist really badly. I loved the ocean and everything that had to do with the ocean and the things that lived in it. You have those kid dreams or whatever. Um, and then when you get to high school, like I got caught up in like what was cool, and so it was cool to be an athlete. So I was a soccer player, and I stopped the acting stuff for a little while, and then I was lucky enough to start doing improv comedy when I was very young. I was 15 years old when I started, um, and that got me back into just really knowing that I could do the acting thing, and that's what really brought me to the forefront of like studying it in college, and then going to New York and studying it there after college, and that really started my journey.
Yeah, so you got your start doing, improv and stand-up comedy. So, would you say that those skills that you've learned and acquired over the years, would you say that it also helped you, like when it comes to working in television and, working on so many different, um, clients over the years?
Absolutely, yeah. The skills that you learn in with improv not only help your acting skills, but just your personality skills in general. Like you just know how to deal with people better. You know how to interact. You're never uncomfortable in a situation, and so they've really been just those are the skills that have really excelled my life forward.
Yeah, for sure. Um, And I know that you've also done like, you've said that you've done voiceover, you've been an actor for various shows over the years. And it's just been like, being pursuing a career, like I know that with a lot of VO work, with a lot of actors, they usually came from like, a stage or a theater background. They've done like radio, they've done in your case, stand up. So that was having the experience of juggling so many different hats, in showbiz it can be very helpful and it can be very useful when it comes to like working on, different, productions. Like, let me see. I know that you were originally from, the New York, New Jersey area. So how would you say that, the industry is like out on the East Coast? Um, like, say, compared to how it is in LA.
Sure,
What are
yeah.
some of
I
the
mean,
biggest differences? Yeah.
I left that area 16 or 17 years ago. So it was
Okay.
a long time ago. But at the time, it was mostly stage work. So I've
Mhm.
performed in over 3,000 live shows, probably up to almost 4,000 now, which is just insane to think about. Um, and I was doing shows every weekend and performing during the week and doing theater and doing improv and doing comedy stuff. And there was a small television and film industry there at the time. Now there's a lot more filming there. I right in my hometown, Netflix just spent almost $1 billion on buying some land up, and they're going to create studios out there in New Jersey, where I'm from. But I think the biggest difference is, and why I really love LA, is New York. There is a small arts community pursuing the arts in a town full of business. And in LA, it is a town full of artists, really all just trying to make their way through. There are some businesses out here too, obviously, but like I would say it's like 75-25 toward the arts. And so I love being surrounded by people who are driven by their dreams. I think that's very inspiring.
Yeah, for sure. That is a very good mindset. That's a very good way of putting it, you know? I've been here in LA, like, excuse me, I've been here for pretty much all my life. So I kind of am more familiar with the LA scene than I am with like, Texas, New York, like Canada, like pretty much a lot of the big voiceover hotspots. And not just for voiceover, but just for acting in general. Because as everybody knows, like if you want to do Broadway, like New York is definitely the place to be. Or if you want to do music, there's Nashville, there's Texas, there's other um, other states where you can pretty much. But I know everybody says that Nashville is kind of the capital when it comes to music and stuff, but that's kind of like a whole separate podcast all on its own.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, so there's like a lot of resources that you could look up online and whatnot. So yeah, I'm just kind of curious, like because I know you said that you've done like close to 4,000, which is unbelievable. Wow. So what are some of the and this is tough because every time I ask like what's your favorite, it's like I don't because if I ask like what's your favorite show and it's kind of like oh man it's so many. So
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I want to ask you what were the ones that you considered that you hold very near and dear to your heart.
Sure. Yeah, I love that question. Well, I was lucky enough for a couple of years when the comedian Rob Riggle was doing something called Riggle's Picks. So he
Hmm.
would pick his football picks for the week. In but he would do it through sketch comedy, and my friend was a writer on that. So I got to be one of the regulars on the comedy team that performed. So I got to work with all the best people. Like my first day on set, I got to work with Betty White. So that yeah, I know. So that was like on her birthday. I think it was her 98th or 99th birthday. Um, and so like that's definitely stands out in my head as one of the best jobs that I've done. It was a quick job, is just a funny sketch, and I had very little to do. But that being said, it was just the experience of being on set with some of the best people. Currently, I'm doing a live show now every month where it's a fully improvised Broadway musical, and that's really fun. Like just getting to create uh the pianist who's playing is improvising, all the players are improvising, so everything is made up right on the spot, and that's just a beautiful thing to be a part of.
Yeah. I mean like wow, Betty White.
I know, right? Right.
Yeah. I mean like I'm just really glad that you actually got to work with her like, before.
Yeah, yeah,
Um I mean, she was still working in her like she was still regular. She was just consistently working up until the very end. So that is so commendable. Like I
yeah.
really admire and respect that. It's kind of like for VO. Like I remember people like um June Foray. Like she worked up until like um in her 90s, like up until 2017 when she passed away. Like she was still consistently working. Um, and June has been around the block since the golden age of radio, animation, like Looney Tunes, Rocky Bullwinkle, and she was just still very active. So I guess it's something that you know, like if it's something that you really love doing, working up until the very end, and just love what you do for a living, it's like, yeah, that's a true blessing and a real gift right there.
Absolutely.
At
And
least for
not
me.
only
Yeah.
that, but she was hilarious up until the very
Oh
end
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
She walked on set and immediately started telling jokes, and we were all dying laughing. It was absolutely
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, and Betty was one of a kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for voiceover, like since you've done acting, you've done theater, and you've done all these different shows, um so what was the story of how you actually first got your start into VO? Like were you doing a show? Was it a case of like somebody like discovered you, like they've seen you in a play or what have you, or were you like auditioning for voiceover projects? How did
Yeah, I
that
I think the
work out?
day of people discovering you might be long gone. So it was more that I had done a lot of radio in college. So I'm old enough where radio was a big deal when I was graduating college. So I was in radio, and I was in New York, and I was working in the radio industry. And I had a friend who had a studio, and we made a voiceover demo tape, and it was just a commercial demo. It wasn't any animation yet. And not that I couldn't do the voices, it was just like I hadn't made a demo. But it was at the beginning of when the internet was first being used for casting. So it was NY Castings had just come out. It was the early 2000s. And I had my demo up there, and I was lucky enough to have 4 kids hear it. So that was the production company that did Sonic '06. But before that, they had me coming in and auditioning for Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Ninja Turtles. Like, I was reading for everything. And they liked me, and so they kept calling me in to read for all these characters. And uh I know I've told this story before, but I was going in and reading for characters who had big, deep voices, and they were all bad guys, and that's who I was reading. And I was walking out of the studio one day, and they said, "Hey, before you go, could you just try this 13-year-old hedgehog?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I guess." And so I did it. They played me kind of, I think they used a Yu-Gi-Oh clip of like, hey, it's kind of in this anime-ish realm, that's where they see this guy. And I did my voice, and I didn't hear anything for like 6 months probably. And then out of the blue, they just called me and they're like, hey, you're Silver the Hedgehog. So yeah, it was great.
That's how it be, man. That's how it goes.
Yep.
Yeah. It's kind
Yep.
of like you go in for you walk in, you either you do it from home, or you actually go into a studio, which I know that I'm really glad that they're opening back up. I,
Me too. Me
because
too.
yeah, because oh man, these last few years.
Yep.
Yeah, you go in, you do your thing, and then you don't hear back for a while, and then it's like, oh hey, you got the part, and I'm like, and then you're like, oh, okay. Because there's a lot of different factors, but hey, um, they really liked what you did, so
That's
yay.
right. Yep. Yep. Yeah, you just never know. You don't know
You
what the
just don't
one
know.
is going to
Yeah.
be. Yeah.
Yeah, you just never know. That's really how it be, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a really great story, you know? It's just kind of like, and it's really interesting too that like that you went in and you were trying out for like the deep bad guys. Like that is
Hmm.
actually very fascinating. And then because I actually didn't know this until just now. Like you were I mean, for acting, it's like they call you in to play, a role where like, hey, we would love you to try this, and then you could do this, da, 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 da. And then, lo and behold, it's the character that is like, oh, okay, so I know that I could, it's kind of something in my wheelhouse, but it's still something that you were not expecting to book.
That's
So
right. Yeah. Yeah.
it's just one of those cases.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I was, 25, 27, something like that at the time. So, um, I was long into the last thing I expected to book was a 13-year-old hedgehog. But, luckily, the cool thing about voiceover as compared to acting is acting, you're obviously restricted by your age, your look, your height, obviously they can do some things. Lord of the Rings, for example, no one's actually a hobbit, but we can make them look that way. But and voiceover, you can be anything, you can be anybody, you could be any age, as long as you have the vocal range to do so. So
Mhm. Yeah. So I was also gonna like let me see. So I know there was something else that I was gonna ask related. Oh, yeah. Like when it comes to, I guess we'll probably get back to Sonic in just a moment, but when it comes to joining the union and getting into SAG, like, um, out of curiosity, I just wanted to quickly check with you first. Like, are you a part of the union? Are you with
I
SAG?
am. Yes. Yes,
Okay,
I am.
so I just wanted to make sure, double check, double check.
Mhm.
So when it comes to joining, the union and whatnot, like, is there a specific, like, any requirements or because I know I was reading up on SAG of how to, join, like, specifically when it comes to joining the different unions, like for LA and New York, but for in your case, like, were you already like, um, did you get your SAG card from doing your work on television, or how was your like little journey and
Yeah,
process of
through
joining?
through film
Yeah.
and TV stuff. So, um I got my so it's a weird process. It's different for everybody, but I was working at a restaurant in 2007, 2008, when they were going to film uh date night in the restaurant, and that was Steve Carell and Tina Fey. And so they were like, "Hey, is anybody on the staff? Are is anybody an actor?" And so they immediately put me and some other people up, and we met with production and stuff like that. And they were like, "Well, if you want to be if you want, because we would have been out of work for a couple days as bartenders or servers because they were filming in the restaurant for like a week. So they were like, come be background, SAG background. We'll give you your vouchers. So you have to get 3 SAG vouchers before you join. Or I think you can join before them, but you have to have a certain amount of vouchers, a certain amount of work to join SAG. And that's when I got my vouchers. And funnily enough, I actually got to have lines and a scene with Steve Carell and Tina Fey that eventually got cut out of the movie, so I never got to see it. But I got to work with 2 of my comedic heroes just, randomly from having work taken away from me in a restaurant. So it was really cool. A cool way to get your intro into SAG.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, and congrats, by the way. Um, and it is so fascinating that you've worked with Steve and Tina. Like, both of them are like some of my comedic inspirations. Particularly Steve, because like actually what I'm noticing with a lot of comedians that are like is I take a lot of influence from just their witty, fast-paced, like sort of like okay, jumping from one thing to the next. Like it's bam 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 bam. It's kind of like, spontaneous energy that I just kind of take I steal from them really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
well,
see it
and
in Steve. Oh, sorry. Continue.
yeah, no, well, they're both very veteran trained improvisers. So
Yeah,
they
Tina,
came out of the
improv.
Chicago improv scene, and that's watching them work on set. It was just like, oh yeah, this is they know their lines, and you get your takes with the lines, and then they give them as many takes as they want to improvise whatever they want, and they crushed it.
Yeah, and this is what I say to people. Improv is highly essential if you want to pursue a career like in acting, especially because it allows you to think like really think outside the box and think outside your head, and it can be a really fun exercise. Um, and that's something that I see in Steve, I see in Tina Fey, and the ones that I really love, like, Robin Williams, Jim Carrey, Eddie Murphy, and all of these large comedic influences in my life. They're just really super skilled in improv, and I just love their energy and their zaniness that they incorporate into every role that they do. Like they just give it their all, and yeah. And I was just sitting there, like not to talk about me very often, but just for a moment, when
Please
I
do.
watch something, if I see something that is done by Robin or something that was done by I don't know Eddie or Jim Carrey or like Dave Chappelle or what have you, I'm just like I'm gonna steal that. I'm gonna steal it someday. I mean, that's what you do as an actor. You kind of like good actors borrow and great actors steal. I think that's the same. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, you
So just
find
steal from the
inspiration.
best.
Yeah, you find inspiration everywhere, and if you go to the best, that's the way the way to do it. And
Oh, certainly.
so many people are intimidated by the word improv. They hear improv, and they're like, "Oh man, I can't improvise. I can't make anything up." But what they don't realize is every conversation that they've ever had in their life is improvised. You and I did not
Yes.
script this conversation, so it's really just looking at it.
None of this podcast is scripted, just
No,
to let
that's
you know.
correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I don't want to be like, okay, so this is the guest, here's a list of questions that I gotta go through the
Right.
laundry list of questions that you hear in every single interview, like, okay, what's your favorite color? Blah blah blah. Okay, check, 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 check. But no, I just want to go off the cuff and talk about, you know, because I I know that you've mainly done Silver, but I just don't want to ask questions specifically related to Sonic. Like, I love exploring like different avenues, like radio, commercials, and even interesting little, roles that you may have done. And
Sure.
that's pretty much what I do for the podcast. I just go over like the small, interesting little fun trivia because I'm kind of like a Wikipedia nerd when it comes to
Yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff. So, yeah,
Well, and
that's what I
like,
am.
and to say that I've mostly done Silver isn't really accurate either, because I had, other than Sonic and Tails R that I did with Emily Jones,
Oh, yeah.
I haven't recorded Silver since, I don't know, 2010, 2011, something like that. Like,
So
it's been a
yeah, it
very
definitely
long
was a
time.
while. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know that's what it's, my voiceover stuff is known for the most, but I've done a million things after that. So I
Oh
appreciate
yeah.
the idea that you're not just focusing on that. It's really fun.
Oh yeah, totally. Because as an actor myself, like, I've been focusing on, that's why I asked about SAG, like, and the other trends that are going on in the business, like we talked about earlier, like, the strike and how that's gonna mostly impact the industry going forward, but we don't know what's going to happen. We're still in the midst of it, so it's not my place to speak on that. So I'm just going to be like, fingers crossed, just
Yeah.
hoping for the best.
Yep.
But speaking of your other VO work, I know that you've done, other work for, Yu-Gi-Oh! And shows on 4Kids TV. And so you've done your fair share of like New York based like shows that are recorded, out in the area. So I know that 4Kids has kind of been like, oh my gosh, wow, they're kind of But
Well, I think they're gone.
honestly,
Are they even still around? I don't even know if they're still around.
I'm not I think, but I think they like when it comes to anime dubs, I think that's kind of those days are kind
Mm,
of
yeah.
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 But I know that they had their hits or misses. That's all I'm gonna say. I know that when I was a kid, I really did enjoy watching, Ninja Turtles, like Yu-Gi-Oh, Sonic X, and that stuff. So, they've done their fair share of good work. And I'm not gonna be like, oh, well, I mean, that's the same for everything. Like, not everything that you're gonna do is gonna turn out to be a hit. I
That's
mean,
right.
that's just the nature of it. But, with those hits, I'm glad that a lot, like, particularly in the Sonic fandom, like, if you watch something like Sonic X, or if you played the video games like Sonic 06, um, or the games that are from the, I guess, Dark Ages, I don't know. Like, when you play something like 06 or X, or just really a lot of people are still very passionate about, these franchises with Sonic in particular. I mean, there's conventions, there's, a lot of video games, there's projects that you've been a part of too. Like it's just a really good testament on how timeless Sonic is. And there's no way that this speedy blue little hedgehog is gonna slow down anytime soon. See what I did there? So yeah, like Sonic. I know that Silver is kind of the main thing that you're known for, but how's your experience like, with the Sonic community and the fandom? Like I know you mentioned Sonic and Tails are, but overall experience with the Sonic the Hedgehog community.
Yeah. I mean, I love how much people love the game. Like, it's really,
Yeah.
it's fun to see how, a character like that can inspire people, can let people like discover who they are and have a community of other people who support them. I just, yeah, I love the community. I think everyone, 99.9% great.
Oh, totally. Um, yeah, because I also really love the Sonic and Tails art project he did with Emmy and with Ryan and all of these guys. Like, and it's also it's really fun to see, Emmy and Dorian and all these guys just really make this project come to fruition. Like they've worked really hard on it for years, and then to see it finally come to life, it's just like you said, people making their own content, and because we're just as passionate about this stuff as people running the social media like Sonic and everybody who's doing it like Sonic Revolution and all these people that are just a lot of very talented folks that really appreciate what they've done and how these games are made and really love the hard work that is put into it, whether it be the
Yeah,
characters, the stories, the games, shows. Like it really is a really phenomenal community to be a part of. Now,
yeah,
even if it does, I mean, every community can have has their hiccups now and then, but
of course.
honestly, the Sonic community is just one of the best that I have seen, and it is just the amount of love that goes into Sonic, it's really awe-inspiring, and it can be inspirational even. You
Absolutely. I
just
agree.
never know, man. Like you
Yeah.
said, you just never know.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I actually do want to talk to you about I read on your bio that you're also a vinyl addict. Addict? Is that the right term to describe it? You
I think that's what
collect
I
like
said.
a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. See, if you
And
look behind me, there's all those vinyl records.
yeah,
Um,
you collect vinyl
Yeah,
records.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's like it's not even a big collection, but it's a little over 400 records, and
Nice.
I love music. Music is such a huge part of my life. I even like, when it comes to, if I'm really doing research on a character, I will use music to help inspire that character or find,
That's good. That is good,
what
man.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
what's that guy gonna listen to, or what did he listen to when he was a kid, how did it shape his life, because I just know how much music shaped my life. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that all came from my dad having a small vinyl collection when I was younger, and I would just sit up at the record player and listen over and over and over again. So discovering the Beatles and Bob Dylan and Led Zeppelin and all the classic rock stuff
Man,
was
the
just such a cool
legends.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me see here. So I guess one question that I would love to ask you that I'm starting to this is a recurring question that has come up fairly recently. What are some of the hurdles that you have to overcome working as a professional actor? The challenges and hurdles,
That's a
working in
great
the
question.
biz.
Well, so you just said it actually. You said working in the biz. So it trying to marry art and business, and realizing that it's most of the time when you audition for something and you put all your heart and soul into it and you don't get the role, 99% of the time it has nothing to do with your performance. If you are a good actor, it has to do with your hair color, your height, or do they have the offer out to somebody else? um are you gonna not get along, not, I don't, like, not match up with the person playing opposite you? There's just a million other factors. So I think the hardest or biggest hurdle is to understand that it's nothing personal. It is a business. We're all in this because we're art. As far as actors go, real actors are artists. They're doing it for the art, not to be famous, but because they want to do the work and make a living doing so. And so trying to reconcile the artistry with the business is, to me, the biggest hurdle.
Yeah. And you also voiced Tanner Christensen, so how is that, whole experience like?
Man, I miss doing Most Popular Girls in School. That was such a fun, lovely show to be a part of. Um, Not being LGBTQ plus, but being a strong ally and getting to play that character and running it by my friends who are in that community and saying, "Hey, like, is this okay? Is this cool? Am I doing this justice?" Was just such a cool experience. And it started out when we first started. We were in somebody's apartment recording at their dining room table. And then when we finished, we were at the YouTube studios recording in these beautiful studios. So it was just really fun to see how that was just such how it came to be, and from the ground, and then just this big, beautiful explosion of art.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. So my last few questions are, yeah, just share what you've I know that there's not a lot that you can discuss, whether due to NDA or just, I don't know, other reasons, but yeah, just share about, your upcoming, what does the future look like for you, and any last final thoughts, or just anything that you want to share or promote before we conclude this fun little episode.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. Well, like I said, I do a show every month on the west side of Los Angeles in Santa Monica at the West Side Comedy Theater called West Side Comedy Story. And it's a fully improvised musical. So you can always catch me live there. As far as other stuff, I'm just constantly hustling. My wife and I write together. So we're writing some projects, which is always great, and constantly auditioning. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like final words would be if this is something that you want to do, don't do it because you want to be famous. Don't do it because you want to be rich. Do it because you love it and you have to do it, because you're not going to be, very likely, if you are very unlikely to be rich and famous, or at least not without putting in 10 to 20 years of work. So do it because this is your passion, because it's what you have to do, because when you go to sleep at night, this is what you dream about. Uh, that's the reason to get into the arts, whether it be voiceover or acting or theater or whatever it is.
Beautiful last words to end to close this out on. Pete, this has been a huge pleasure having you on, and thank you so much for joining me today. Um, this should be going up at some point later in the next couple of weeks. I'm not really sure
Cool.
because of my
Awesome, man.
schedule. So yeah, thank you for watching, and stay tuned. Keep up to date on my social media, which I'll post in the description by the time these episodes go up. And yeah, until then, take it easy, y'all, and yeah, hope to see y'all sometime in the near future. And totally looking forward to seeing all of you at Sonic Revolution next month, so that'll be a lot of fun. And until then, take it easy, take care, and yeah, rock on, everybody. And I'll see you all next time. Bye bye. Live long and prosper.